Peter, good morning. Thanks for joining us. I think it's really important that you're happy to share your views regarding you can forget an integrated mining value chain without an enterprise architecture. That's what this conference is about. So a few questions for you. What's your notion, firstly, of an integrated mining value chain?
Well, I think it's quite simple. For us, it's in a way basic. We just need to define and measure all the processes that take us from some ore in the ground through to some finished products in the hands of the customer. If we can actually envisage that as a kind of flow and ensure that we can measure what is actually happening at any time and be able to aggregate all the separate flows across our organisation up through a management chain, if you like, so that we can actually see the financial impact of such things. That's the basic first step for us. Now beyond that, it's to move from managing and controlling this from, if you like, a somewhat reactive mode to a planned mode, so that we're actually always planning and measuring our success against the plan. So have we executed according to the plan? And also so that the different planning horizons are able to be handled, if you like, simultaneously. So we can look at things in terms of business plan type planning horizons, which could be 3 to 5 years, and that is conforms or is somewhat integrated with shorter term planning horizons, which might be what are we doing over the next 6 months, 1 month, next shift, whatever. So being able to align all these different planning horizons and ensure that we are operating in a coherent way, shall we say, is the essence for us of having an integrated value chain.
What's the role of the enterprise architecture in the value chain?
So the enterprise architecture lays out a future state and acts as a guide, provides a template, if you like, that ultimately we're trying to build to. Now, an enterprise architecture can be a high-level thing, such as a very conceptual blueprint, and it also needs to be able to be fleshed out into somewhat more detail so that we actually provide guidance for individual work teams that are building out components of that blueprint. But without an architecture, it's hard to see that we can do anything, because otherwise we're just going to do things that are not, which are discontinuous or not connected. We risk tripping over each other. What we used to say is, we're really building tomorrow's shantytown if we don't have any town planning rules. So the enterprise architecture provides those town planning rules for us to make sure that it aligns all the pieces of effort that we have across the enterprise, potentially operating over many years and multiple sites, to some common end. I think you just have to look at the history of this. When this started, we had an idea, but very few people in our team in place to help us put that idea together or to flesh it out. So we definitely needed some help, and that's when we invited Bedrock in. And Bedrock were able to provide some very experienced and capable people that have helped us take that idea and turn it into something that is comprehensive, well developed and saleable across our business. And if you like, has created a springboard for us to develop a raft of projects that begin to realise, over a period of time anyway, the original vision, the original idea. So Bedrock have been key players in getting us to where we are today, so we thank them for it.
What type of barriers did you experience in that project?
Well, I think the biggest barrier is there are no norms around this. I mean, no one's actually seen it in a fully realised fashion. No one can actually show a mine site operating in this way. I mean, it's hard to find examples of a fully fleshed out realisation of a value chain in the way that I described it. So that being the case, there aren't really norms that you can point to. Typically in a mine site, the people that manage the mine sites manage to models that they've inherited, models that they used to, that they've grown up with. And here we're trying to break that mould and create a somewhat different way of working. Partly that is actually creating more interdependence between the mine site and various support teams that might be sitting in hubs or in head offices or wherever. And traditionally, mines being often on the frontier tend to be somewhat autonomous. So that in itself is something of a barrier.
How did you address those barriers?
Well, I think for us, it was necessary to think about what MMG was trying to achieve as an organisation. And for us, it's to grow rapidly into a mid-tier 2 miner over a relatively short period of time. So in order to grow, we need an operating model that is replicable across our sites. And this architecture provides, if you like, a key component or a key foundation for that operating model. So for us, it played a key role in enabling us to realise our business plan. So all of that is at one level. I guess the other level is when we're looking at individual initiatives that are components or realised components of the architecture. Like any other initiative, they need a business case. We need to be able to demonstrate that there is business value for the site that is being impacted.
How did you develop the framework? What steps did you take to sort of deliver the MMG approach?
Okay, well, we started with some work on creating this vision and then fleshing it out into an architecture, and we had Bedrock to help us for that, which we're grateful. And that took us about 12 months to complete, with the help of our own subject matter experts in the various discipline areas, to create a comprehensive architecture for the value chain, at least the bit that covers mining and operations. I wouldn't say that every component of that is now totally completed, but we've done enough to provide guidance for us to go forward.
What approach did you have to socialise the enterprise architecture with the business stakeholders?
Well, we've tried to operate at multiple levels. At the executive level, we weren't necessarily always identifying it as a business architecture or dealing with it in, let's say, abstract terms, but we were describing the future state that we're talking about. Also, there's been a particular focus on the leadership of each of our mining operations through our operational leadership team, so that they understand what we're trying to do, because what we're doing inevitably will create disruptions at their sites, but hopefully will, over a period of time, give them much better management information to better control the activities at their sites.
So Peter, last thoughts to any of your peers who are embarking on an integrated mining value chain journey?
An integrated mining value chain is going to be a significant, long journey. And like any journey, if you start it without a roadmap, then you're probably not going to get to some desirable destination. So the architecture is really part of your roadmap. You need one, otherwise don't start.
Peter, thanks very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick. Enjoyed it.